right, Jim Cacioppo joins us here today. He is the co-founder, chairman, and CEO of Jushi. How are things, Jim?
Great, Chad. Great. Fantastic.
Finally get a chance to connect. I know we've had Eric on a few times, but what a ride this company's been. A lot of talk, obviously, topic of conversation amongst the U.S. cannabis landscape, but how are things going day to day? I'm sure it's a busy time for you.
You know, it is a busy time. We have our hands full. We have some great licenses, some great states like Pennsylvania, Virginia, and Illinois. And
Yeah,
those markets seem like they're going to be going to the adult use pretty soon. So
yeah,
we're working super hard on expanding the grower processors, which takes up a lot of my time because I'm in charge of the operations.
yeah.
And and then the acquisition front keeps us very busy. We have a big pipeline of things we're working on.
Great. Well, we'll get into that, but I first want to ask, what a ride, as I said, this has been. Um, could you predicted this? I remember first hearing about this company 2 years ago, and here we are 2 years later. Jushi's now a top 10 U.S. multi-state operator with a 10-digit market cap scale that is not far away from companies like Green Thumb Industries and Cresco Labs. So, can I ask you? How did you how did you do this? How were you able to close the gap with yourselves and some of the other tier one competitors really in less than 2 years?
Yeah, so I had full confidence that we'd be in the top 10. I used to talk about this in the beginning, how there was plenty of room at the top. So as when we went public in May of 19, the investor universe, including the Canadian brokers, were all focused on us being in New York, where we had a license, or minority interest in a license, in Florida, where we had a management contract. And we saw bidding wars going on in those
Right.
states. So we focused on where the value was and where the best bang for your buck was. We had limited capital. Everybody has limited capital. So we
Yeah.
focused on Pennsylvania, and we did 2 acquisitions to acquire 15 different dispensaries. Since then, we've added a grower processor and 3 more dispensaries. And we're sort of at the max in the state. And then we also focused on an unknown market that nobody was focused on, called Virginia.
Right.
And and so the part of the way we've closed the gap is by really targeting. And we also, by the way, picked up 4 great dispensaries in Illinois before Illinois was super hot. So
Outside of Chicago too, right?
yeah, they're out. They're not just Chicagoland area. They're they're
Hmm.
they're down towards St. Louis, which is a great market.
Right.
And so we focus where others weren't. And now we have, I think, the highest growth portfolio of any portfolio. Very purebred in
Wow.
the sense that we don't have a lot of noise in our portfolio. We have 3 great concentrated areas that we're in, and then we have 3 states where we're just building operations that aren't that significant right now to our numbers. So I think that's how we're doing it. Is we're the best play on Pennsylvania and Virginia, and people know that. And we have this great strong position in Illinois, which really is like our cash cow right now.
It's great. Well, despite the obvious, like I've talked to a lot of people in the space, and when the conversation gets brought up, let's say outside of the big four MSOs, it's like, what are the big up and coming industry, or should say companies within the industry that have tremendous upside? Jushi's always at the forefront of those conversations. Why do you think that is, despite what you just outlined?
Yeah, listen, I think we've done a lot of innovating. So besides having this great footprint and being leaders and sort of choosing our own way, so I think the people in Bay Street realized we went our own way, and we chose right. But besides that, I think we're very innovative, and we have one of the best online presence. If you look at our website, not only from the investor communication standpoint, which is tremendous, Mike and his team do a great job, and of
Hmm.
course we have senior leadership involved, like myself and Eric, all the time. Um, but also online ordering, our menus, the content. We were the first to do an investor day. We did a video investor day. I invested about $250,000 of company resources to create video content, which shows the investors, what they're investing in,
Right.
we had 2 hours of video with our much of our senior management team. So we did things like that. They're very, very innovative. I think a bunch of people are, I hate to say copying, but in the lack, I'm kind of sitting here on the spot, but they're kind of copying what we're doing. I've talked to a few leaders in the industry that want to do the Day type videos, for example, and our online website is widely considered one of the best in the industry, and people are starting to do what we're doing on that front.
Well, you need to outline some of the team members that are associated with your business, including some Grammy winners. Maybe outline some of the people and the strategy as to who they are and what they bring and the benefits it's affording the company.
Yeah, so let's talk about the Grammy winner, Dre, Andreas Newman. He was a creative force,
Yep.
both in the advertising and marketing business, but also famous as a rock photographer. And and uh, um, and he sort of created the position. He said,
Mm,
let me be your chief creative officer. So marketing reports into that. It's a very quantitative data analytic area. And they do all of our branding, all the content for the website, store design. We have a professor underneath him who focuses on CX and UX, consumer experience and user experience. And so when we do these things, it's very, very thoughtful. So I think we have one of the leading store designs.
it's great.
We don't have we don't have too many of those Gen Wen stores where nobody had capital and it kind of looks just
Hmm.
like a old school, cannabis dispensary or like a CVS or something, no
Right.
soul to it. So they do a great job. Our CFO, Kim Bombach, she doesn't, she's so busy, we can't have her in front of the investors very often, but Michael does get her out there once in a while. Michael Perman runs IR. I think we have the best IR program of anybody. We do a monthly email, which puts everything together and we send it out to our known investors. And We have seven firms covering us in Canada and the U.S. We have a Nicole Upshaw who runs our human resource department. Very important. We have almost 700. We have just about 700
Right.
employees. A lot of those are hourlies in the stores and in the grower processors. She does a great job. It's very, very hard, very, very diligent work. She's built a great department. I think she has about a dozen people in that department. Kim in the CFO area in our finance area has about 25 people in her department. And then we have two people who run our legal department. We have a legal team of 6 or 7 folks. Toby Leibowitz, she's fantastic. She runs all security stuff, litigation, human resource law. And then Matt Leith has been in the industry. He was in with the Colorado company in cannabis before us. He has a ton of experience, both nationally and internationally in regulatory stuff. And so Matt's fantastic, tons of experience. And then the senior team, who I brought together. I was the founder really, and I brought together 4 people who didn't really know each other.
Yep.
John Barrick, who worked for me at One East,
Yep.
he's built we have the industry leading team, I think, in running numbers, doing acquisitions, and just the quantitative approach to the business. John's a president. Eric Malf, who
Yep.
he's been our force in terms of being out there with investors and also some other areas of the company help me manage the business. That's a senior suite. And then we have guys like Trent Wolverek, who was our first acquisition. We bought the Green Solutions businesses outside of Colorado. Trent came along with that. And Trent is one of the cannabis originals, but he's also a businessman. He's worked in the healthcare industry. He's worked for large healthcare, U.S. healthcare company. So he kind of combines this original guy in the cannabis business who can really converse with these people who we try to buy out their businesses and who we have supply relationships with and all these types of things. And he's also a professional businessman like we are.
Great response. It's like you've been asked this every day, right?
I've never been asked that question before. Tell me about the whole team. And I probably missed somebody out there. And wait, one call out. Oliver Bleckner, who runs business development. He worked for me at Sandel. He's like one of the busiest guys in the business right now because we have a huge pipeline of acquisitions. So he's
There you
fantastic.
go.
And we have like a private equity group within Jushi that does our deals.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's incredible what we
Well, the
can do.
way you explain it's almost like the celebrity at the Grammys getting the own Grammy Awards and wants to thank all the producers. But job well done. And obviously,
Thank you.
it's clear that you see big picture. But one thing that's clear about this industry is that there was a lot of lessons learned 4 or 5 years ago. But what's exciting is that some real sophisticated, investors, business oriented people have now entered it in the space. And you brought up the idea of like One East Partners, what you co-founded as well. It had peak assets of $2.3 billion. You also have a reputation for sticking with your conviction and intuition to guide your investment thesis with the supporting research that checks out. But I find this interesting. What was your gut telling you based on your experience when it came to cannabis in the early days?
So listen, I think in the early days, the thesis is so easy, right? I mean, people love the product.
Yep.
You have people who, from an adult use, recreational perspective, who've always used it, want to use it, and there's a growing population out there. It's just converting the illicit market to the taxable legal
Right.
market. And then you have the new people coming in, people who may have done it. Like, let's talk about the baby boom generation. They may have done it in college or in the 1960s, or the 1970s, and then they put it away. And now for them, it's more of a medicinal type thing.
Right.
Something they may use for sleep or pain relief or headaches, migraines, all these types of things. And what's really opened up that universe is the quality of the product is fantastic. The tested, that universe is very interested in having sort of, product that's healthy and tested, but also the delivery mechanisms. You don't have to smoke, a nasty cigarette that had, and then where you have to roll it and had all this, stems and seeds in it, and so now they can hit a vape pen if they want a quick response for what their needs are, or they have all other form factors in the edible area, whether it's a tincture that goes into your mouth, or a fast dissolve, or a gummy, whatever it might be, or creams, which are
Right.
very popular. First time users come in lots of times for pain in their elbow or knee, and it might be a cream that they try.
Right.
So we're opening up new users who've never done it before, new customers, and then new patients, and then you have this market where illicit is going to legal. So who wouldn't love that market? So I think looking at the beer and the alcohol industry as an example, combined what that industry really is, beer, wine, and alcohol, is where this industry is probably going.
Where do you see the industry based on that point? Let's say in the next 3 to 5 years, are we on par with alcohol, or is it going to take longer than that?
I think it takes longer. I think alcohol's been around for such a long time. I,
Hmm.
I think that a couple things. Obviously, federal regulation in our country will, and then internationally, alcohol is accepted internationally.
Right.
So international, is behind the U.S. except for Canada and a couple other spots. But I think that.
But regardless of the amount of time, are we headed in that direction?
We're
Where
headed
one
in
day,
that direction. Yeah, I
yeah.
think 10, 20 years is kind of more the market for my thoughts than 5 years.